Hello, hello, my beautiful hive. Thank you so much for popping into this little portion of legendary creatures that I'm going to be talking about. And this is where I dive into animals who have made a significant impact on culture and society, whether it's through predation or other kinds of acts. Uh, Regardless, yeah, we're going to explore different creatures throughout time and history, and some of them more realistic than others, perhaps. But uh, let's start today with the legend of Three Toes, the killer plains wolf, because he was pretty prominent and pretty popular. So let's go.
West, our minds oftentimes turn immediately to thinking about the living legends back then, Wild Bill Hickok and Wyatt Earp and many others, men and women, who walked right out of the Old West and straight into the history books. But not all West legends walked on two legs. Some walked on four. Let me
Mm-hmm.
explain. For over a decade, a killer known as Three Toes roamed the Badlands of Montana and North Dakota. He was raiding ranches and herds, leaving death in his wake. A $500 dead or alive bounty ended up being placed on the head of Three Toes, and this desperado was one of the last of his kind. He
Three Toes, trapped on July 23rd, 1925, in Cahoon Pasture near Gallup, South Dakota, by Clyde F. Briggs, Department of Agriculture inspector. The dead Three Toes still in traps, held up by a rope.
was a Great Plains wolf. Three Toes' infamy had become known far and wide and earned him legendary status due to his ability to evade capture or death while waging economic warfare on ranchers and anybody with domestic animals. He roamed over a wide territory, killing sheep, calves, hogs, colts, cattle, and horses. He killed for killing's sake, usually leaving his victims uneaten.
And this is a common thing with man eaters and cattle killers in general, that they will, if they have an injury, often they resort to these hunting tactics because hunting their natural prey that's more athletic than domestic cattle or humans is too difficult. So, Three Toes. Why was he called Three Toes? Uh, he had three toes on one of his paws, and they could track him when they were tracking him. That's how they knew which one it was. That's how they knew it was him committing all these surplus killings. But surplus killing is not uncommon in carnivorans. Cats and dogs and wolves and bears have all been documented to surplus kill on occasion. And why the cause of it is little understood. There really isn't any known remedy either.
His telltale three-toed tracks would inevitably be found at the scene. Now, nearly every professional wolf hunter of the Northwest had tried to capture him, but failed. First noticed in 1909, Charlie Wilson and Bill Foreman were riding along when they saw a wolf limping toward them. The wolf stopped at a distance and lifted a bloody front paw like a dog asking for help. Well, when Wilson pulled a rifle out of his scabbard, the wolf jumped into a ravine and vanished. About the same time, E. Avala, a nearby rancher, found the severed toes of
And they found the
the
toes in the.
wolf in one of his traps.
No.
After this, Three Toes couldn't be trapped or poisoned, as he was far too wary of humans and as cunning as
He was pissed. He got his foot trapped and lost some of his digits, and somehow managed to survive this grievous wound. And yeah, and heal, and he needed to be able to eat, and he had to find prey that was something he could actually catch and take down.
any wolf that ever lived. It's estimated at that time that Three Toes had cost ranch owners and stockmen over $50,000 in lost stock. He was pursued by over 150 men at times. It was even said that coyotes would follow Three Toes just to feed off his kills, as he would leave them untouched and move on to his next victim.
It is tempting to personify Three Toes here and think that he was out for vengeance against the creatures that maimed his foot, and by killing their livestock, he was taking his pound of flesh. But it's easy to it's easy to personify animals. And I try to avoid doing it. So, yeah.
One rancher lost over 40 sheep in just 2 nights. Bounty hunting trackers could read his signs easily. The telltale three-toed paw print combined with the mass slaughter of uneaten animals. All the hunters needed to do was follow the river of blood. The trouble was the old wolf was no easier to catch when cornered as he was a mile away. Many in the pursuit of the wily old wolf told of Three Toes jumping over vast distances to escape capture. Others have seen him jump up sheer cliffs 7 to 8 feet tall. Some ranchers had wondered if maybe even he had once been a pup in captivity, or perhaps had escaped from a sled team in the Northland. When hard-pressed by pursuers, Three Toes used tactics like circling back around, backtracking, and leaping over soft ground or snow that would leave a sign of his passing. He was even seen to trot through a ranch yard like a dog as he tried to evade suspicion. One time, hunters ran Three Toes for around 100 miles without getting a shot at him. Another time, a hunter used several horses in relays on the chase without results. The wolf actually stopped to kill 15 sheep in a corral while the chase was in progress. John Martin, a state hunter, spent months on his trail using traps, rifle, poison, and chasing methods. In 1924, he ran the wolf for 3 days, covering 200 miles of trail.
On his hobbled foot, too, he's running this wolf down. This is an amazing animal, a resilient animal that they're putting all this effort into taking out. I get why they're doing it. There's money involved, right? And a wolf's life is worth less than a sheep's life. A wolf's life is worth less than a human's life, at least in the society that we've built.
And came close to capturing him. Three Toes was so exhausted he fell many times, and Martin thought he had him. Then as he closed in, the wolf would rise again and trot off, looking for a means of escape. Three Toes eventually made it to the ice on the Grand River, and, leaving no trail to follow, he disappeared. The U.S. Department of Agriculture sent an inspector to catch the killer, Clyde Briggs. He had hunted rogue wolves all over the Northeast. He knew all the tricks needed to catch the beast. Well, Clyde arrived in Harding County, South Dakota, and immediately he and his 2 assistants went to the location of where Three Toes had last been seen. For 3 weeks they tracked their elusive quarry, laying traps and setting poison. Early one morning they came up upon a wolf in one of the traps they had set, and it was Three Toes. He had been caught by the placing of natural wolf scent on a sage bush. One trap was set next to the bush and staked in the ground. Another was put 5 feet away and staked. As Three Toes approached, cautiously sniffing the bush, the trap sprang shut on his front paw. Then as he fought desperately to free himself while he circled the trap, pulling on his paw, the other trap snapped shut on his hind leg paw. He was done. He fought the traps to the point of exhaustion, and he lay there, quiet and still, as the men approached. His eyes darted about and followed the men's movements, but the hours and hours
This is just sad now.
of fighting for his life had made him docile, a pitiful end for the famous killer. The inspector intended to bring the great
This would be a good movie, I think, Jeannie. That's my opinion.
beast in alive and roped the wolf and bound his jaws. On the trip back to town, one of the men noticed that Three Toes had stopped breathing and his eyes had glazed over. The legend was dead. He was thought to be around 20 years old and over 6 feet in length. He was down on weight and condition with his advanced age and weighed in around 80 pounds. Just 1 year later, in 1926, Three Toes species, the Great Plains wolf, or the buffalo wolf, was declared extinct. A memorial stands in Buffalo, South Dakota.
That's the thing right there. That's the point of the reason why I decided this is what I was going to start this with right there. This species is now extinct. Oh. They made such a big deal about killing this one wolf. Meanwhile, its whole species is gone from the face of the earth, or subspecies is gone from the face of the earth. So, yeah. Anyway, so that's the story.
Toes, and his skull resides in the Smithsonian Institute.
Yes, and this was this is from Wild West Faces. Yeah, the legend of Three Toe, the killer plain wolf. I thought it was interesting and worth sharing as we move through the Anthropocene extinction and see the results of our progress as a species to our conquest over the natural world, and the just one of the many victims. And this one fought tooth and nail to the very end to live its natural life in its ecology. It's ridiculously sad to just even contemplate something as abundant. We almost wiped out the bison too, and there was like 2 billion bison in the American Great Plains when the white settlers arrived. And these wolves, like, they lived in an ecology where that was just their life and what they did. Now, Three Toes was a lone wolf because, imagine the injury probably didn't make the wolf very valuable to a pack. Plus, their prey, this is 1925, right? Their prey, the American bison, is basically eradicated at this point, right? And all of its land has been replaced with livestock, with sheep and cattle. And the bisons are, they're bouncing back. We have a sustainable population now. Yeah, anyway. That was a little bit of, we'll put this into, it's sort of like some EcoNews, but when it comes to extinction and eradication, we're going to talk about in this segment tigers and in different species of leopards and subspecies of animals. We'll probably talk about the Tasmanian tiger here a bit, and we'll talk about some that went extinct in more ancient times, like the auroch and some species that are some subspecies and breeds and land races that you all maybe have never even heard of. I guess I want to talk about like first contact dogs. I want to talk about the grice. Do you all know what a grice is? We'll learn that. You're going to learn that in this segment. So, thank you for tuning in here. I got one more thing after this I'm going to talk about, but to my Monday night crew, thank you so much for popping in and giving this a watch. And be kind and take care.